we know Drew Petzing likes big receivers. I think the hesitation to use a guy like Dortch this year was undersized a little bit. Now, the concern would be, the biggest concern I would have is not with anything with Tee Higgins or the contract or the years or the money. It would be the usage under Drew Petzing. You would have to get it assured with Drew that the offense is going to evolve. I just think what would it do for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr.? First, before I preface the Tee Higgins conversation, I want to pull up the Cardinals wide receiving room entering 2025. Bo, avert your eyes. Here we go. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., ever heard of him? Our boy Michael Wilson, and then Greg Dortch, who we don't know, restricted free agent, will be back. Tajon Palmer, a 6th-round pick. Xavier Weaver, undrafted rookie. That is it. Andre Baccellia, maybe, but come on, what are we doing here? It is Marv, Michael, and maybe Greg Dortch. I think a lot of us saw this unit this year and said, could use some speed, maybe a veteran presence. Respect to Zay Jones. I don't think that was as fruitful as they thought. Chris Moore was cut abruptly. So, Bo Brack, I'm going to pose the question to you. Do the Cardinals need a veteran receiver, and why can't it be Tee Higgins?
They do absolutely need a veteran receiver. I think that that would continue to add to this room. That's going to have year 3 Michael Wilson and year 2 Marvin Harrison Jr. Featured. But to go break the bank and invest, ton of salary cap into a guy like Tee Higgins, I just don't. I don't think that that's how the Arizona Cardinals want to spend their cap dollars this offseason. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel like the path that they would go. But can they find somebody to complement these players instead of get kind of co-headlining with Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think that's probably the best route for them. Now go ahead and make your case, and we'll play Madden for a while.
Well, yeah, we all like Madden. He's going to make the projected contract from Spot Track is $27 million a year. And again, the Cardinals have the money. They have the money. Tee Higgins, much younger than I suspected he is, only 25 years old. He will turn 26 in a week and a half. So you're doing a 4-year deal with Tee Higgins. You're getting hopefully the peak years of his NFL career. He's been in the league a long time. Didn't he come in the NFL? He's 20 years old. Mm-hmm. He's 6'4". He runs a legitimate 4.4 40. We know Drew Petzing likes big receivers. I think the hesitation to use a guy like Dortch this year was undersized a little bit. Now, the concern would be, the biggest concern I would have is not with anything with Tee Higgins or the contract or the years or the money. It would be the usage under Drew Petzing. You would have to get it assured with Drew that the offense is going to evolve. I just think what would it do for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson to be able to move Tee Higgins around, to be able to move Marvin around? I just think Bo, you're telling me right now, the Cardinals have almost $90 million in free agent money to spend. They're going to have increased salary cap this year. They can cut people to get money like Jonah Williams. You're telling me you wouldn't sign up for Tee Higgins? Tee Higgins with Kyler Murray in a make or break year? What are you making that face for? Who are you signing for?
Because you got to invest in the defense. You have to invest.
Well, you can do both.
You got premium positions abound, and wide receiver is one of the ones I don't think you have to make the case for. You can't go. It's malpractice to spend $27 million on Tee Higgins.
Not when your passing game was.
Who am I talking with right now? Is this Skip Bayless? Are you? Is that Skip?
Hang on, not this week. Don't do that this week. This is not the week.
This feels a little contrived for me. I'm not. I just don't think that the Cardinals would be anywhere close to hitting up Tee Higgins for a contract.
Well, I think they've taken their medicine. They've drafted and developed 2 wide receivers who are making no money. That position group, they're not paying anybody. Marvin's on his rookie deal, albeit 4th overall.
And they can reallocate that money elsewhere on the roster.
You can still do that.
There's going to be a time to pay Marv real soon. I don't think there's any case to be made for Tee Higgins. I'm actually shocked that we're spending as much time on this as we are. You need an edge. Go spend if you go out there and get Tee Higgins and you don't get an edge, I'm gonna have some serious questions to be asked.
I mean, you have 90 plus. You're gonna have $100 million conservatively.
Okay. Yeah.
And Tee Higgins is gonna cost you $27 million a year. What are you doing with the rest of that money?
You don't.
What are you doing with the rest of that
You're
money?
going to go talk to your wife and be like, you know what I tried to spend on the show today? Cardinals getting Tee Higgins. And she would even be like, that's crazy. They don't need Tee Higgins. You got it.
People not into Tee Higgins in the chat right now.
They're also shaking their head. They're saying no.
Right.
I'd be way more into it. I'd be way more into it if he didn't have injury problems. I think if you're going to splash and make a luxury signing like that, he can't be a guy that you expect to miss like a third of every season.
Well, do you have a free agent receiver at the top of your head that you'd like the Cardinals to pursue? You want me to rattle off a couple?
I mean, I'm looking at him right now. Like you've got
Scrub McGrub, Dirt McGurk.
It's not bad. I mean, there's some diamonds in the rough here.
Who are your diamonds? Come on now, let me hear them. You want to get the,
you're not going to be going after the big fish. I really
get the walkers out for some of these older guys.
Think about the mouths you already have to feed. Your run first offense. You got James Conner, and then you've got Trey McBride, who just had 110 catch season, 1,100 yards as your tight end.
You run too much. We all agree.
And then you're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. Like between Trey and Marv, like those are the mouths that you have to focus on feeding. Adding a third to this wide receiver core, I think it's just it becomes it's excessive. That's what it is. It's absolutely excessive. If you want to start to look at like who they should be, maybe knocking around like a Darius Slayton.
No, bro.
Why are you saying no, bro?
I think Tee Higgins,
you like go out and get Tee Higgins. And you're telling
me what was the conversation to start the show? Making moves that could turn them into a powerhouse. You're not Darius Slayton. Why am I spending 3/4 of the money on Darius Slayton that I could just step up and say I'm going to pay?
It's half the money.
You get what you pay for with that, though. What kind of over-the-top blue chip moves could the Cardinals make to have them win the NFC West? That would be a move to tell your fan base, we're investing in a player in his prime at 26 years old that fits a need. Like it or not, it fits a need. I'm not scoffing at that. The free agency, by the way, is not always going to be X's and O's, fits your needs to a T. It's like, okay, we have a need. Let's go out and just get the best player that at a position of need. Even though it's not 1A, it's not pass rusher, it's not defensive tackle. I would still say receiver and elevating the passing game is a top 1 to 2 need on the team, Bo. If it's not the pass rush, it's right behind that.
I disagree with that. I mean, I think adding depth pieces and potentially a starter you could say, yeah, that's a need, but it's not a top need. You know what the needs of this team, I know what this team has identified as a need.
Bootsy saying, me wanting Tee Higgins is so on brand. Sorry, I want elite players in their prime to help this team win. Yeah, that's definitely on brand. Who do you want? You want somebody in their mid-30s we can shelve out a contract to? You guys enjoy
Tee Higgins
being in the bottom tier, being able to throw the football?
To Jamar Chase. You want to come back and play second fiddle to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
He's getting paid.
Well,
he wouldn't be second fiddle. Come on.
Wow. What are we doing? What
are we doing, Bo?
We used to stand for something on this show.
I mean, but you can't just say Marvin's better than Tee Higgins when all we've seen is that's not true.
To be better than
hypothetically. We hope so, but on paper, Tee Higgins would be the one.
Jalen saying improving the pass protection of the offensive line.
And I don't want. I think that you have to be confident in your decision to take Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. You don't put somebody that's going to take up targets.
I'm with you on that.
They had one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the NFL, Jalen. They gave up 30 sacks. It's not an offensive line problem. I do think they need to upgrade guard.
I think there is a way to improve the offensive line. You know that.
Well, sure, but that's not the offensive line was good this year. I watched them play against Carolina. The offensive line was fine. They had backup tackles in there.
Carolina stinks.
But they lost that game because they couldn't throw the football at the end. I'm asking you, Bo, save for replacing the quarterback, how are you getting better with your intermediate to deep passing game? Unless you're like just assuming everything's going to be fine. We're just going to run it back. You were the one who told me at the end of the year they got to make changes with this passing game for it to be able to elevate. Is it just schematics with you? Is that what you think is going to be fixed?
I think it's more schematics. It's not like, hey, we got to go out there and aggressively pursue the top pass catcher on the market. Like I'm with Book here, who's in the chat. He's saying develop MHJ. That is the absolute right.
We're not flushing that down the toilet with this. I think this is an investment in Marv, saying we're going to take away some coverage.
It's tough to have this conversation because of the market that Tee Higgins, if he eventually hits the open market, is going to command. It should price the Cardinals out as far as where they need to invest their cap dollars and how much they could realistically spend at the wide receiver position. And
they're not spending any money at the position right now. They're not spending a dime.
And that's great because they need to go out and get the best defensive front seven players possible.
Would you consider wide receiver a premium position?
It's on the fringe. If it's one of those ones, if you've got a wide receiver on your team that's going to get 10 catches a game, absolutely.
I'm going to list the highest paid players on the Arizona Cardinals in 2025. Okay. Kyler Murray, $43 million. Okay. Number 2, Jonah Williams, who will be cut, we assume. Number 3, Jalen Thompson, making $13 million. Is he on the team? Number 4, Justin Jones. We're not sure he can play. And then Budda Baker and Sean Murphy-Bunting. That's not a great group. You could make an argument that group and the money that you're allocating to that group, and I would include Kyler Murray based on his performance, is why you didn't make the playoffs. I didn't read Trey McBride in that group, and he's not going to be included in that in 2025. If they extend him, it'll be 2026. What I'm saying is go out and spend big money on elite talent to come here and get you over the hump. I'm not trying to nickel and dime Darius Slayton so that I can be just a middling team. It's crazy to think about. You have an opportunity to go and do something like this, and we're just scoffing at it. I'm not saying it's likely.
What would the Cardinals benefit more from? Going out there getting a premium edge or getting a premium wide receiver?
You don't think this team can do both? If there's ever a year to spend in free agency.
For those in the chat saying like, hey, we once had Larry Anquan and Steve Breston, like that's not what I'm saying. Like Tee Higgins on the Cardinals, yes, does it make him a better team? But I just don't think that that's where you need to invest your resources. I think that you have to go and get, and upgrade the defensive front seven. Mike, why get Tee when you already have
issue with getting Tee Higgins, in my opinion, is we got an offensive coordinator.
Are you going to get on? Do you honestly stand by this? But you're going to get on at Johnny Venerable on Twitter, and you're going to pound the table for the Cardinals to go after Tee Higgins?
No, I'm saying I would. I don't think they will. I think, and can I be honest with you, Bo? I think if you believe that Drew Petzing, who's interviewing with the Chicago Bears tonight, is changing his scheme, he's getting head coaching interviews. You are naive. That man is not changing a damn thing. He's interviewing for a head job. They're talking. They had an 11th best offense in the NFL.
You want to add Tee Higgins to that scheme?
Well, no. I would. I think it's the smart thing to do, but they're just. Here's my prediction for the Cardinals. They're going to sign a guard, and they're going to run everything back. And we're going to be sitting here in September, and people are going to be like, why doesn't it look different? Why does this look the same? Why is there 3 tight ends? Where are the wideouts?
You think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to look the same?
Save for maybe Marvin.
That's a big save for
Marvin. Marvin led the wide receiving core with 800 receiving
85
yards.
yards, yeah.
That's just not good enough for a team that has aspirations to win the NFC West. You have to have multiple players in that caliber.
Yeah, you would have Marv and Trey McBride, and then you would have the supporting cast.
I think like top 5 in receiving yards for this team. I think a running back was in there. And it's just not the receiving core to me. Like, I think you have to force the issue if you're asking for it. Hey, Drew, we're adding Tee Higgins. Figure it out.
Oh, he already realized that you have to really get Marvin Harrison Jr. going. That's the focus of the passing attack next year. And then if you want some complementary pieces, you want to upgrade. So we talk about, like saying goodbye to Zach Pascal and potentially saying goodbye to Greg
Let's see that
George.
list one more time, Dan.
Yeah.
Bo's comfortable with this list. It's surprising.
I'm not comfortable with this list.
You're only talking about the man in the photo right here.
Yeah. He's the vocal point, right? He's the guy that you took 4th overall, that Kyler Murray said the final 2 weeks down the stretch after they were eliminated from the playoffs was to get him on track. Marvin Harrison Jr. making a big jump in year 1 to year 2 is going to be the emphasis of the passing attack. taking a big leap from this year to next. But, it doesn't mean like, hey, I'm fully content with this being the wide receiver room either, just because I'm out on Tee Higgins. And then when I throw a name in there and people are like, Darius Slayton, that's
gross.
Disgusting.
Don't come in here with that garbage.
I didn't come in there with like Gunnar Olszewski either from the Patriots. Like,
that's not a real player.
Gunnar Olszewski.
Olszewski, sorry.
Come on.
That's not a real player.
Me and my friends actually had inside jokes about him.
That's not a real player. Tell me how to fix this, Bo.
You go out there and I think you add guys that
who?
You add a slot potentially. You add depth. You add this year's version of Zay Jones.
No, but that didn't really work though.
Right. Well, no, but it didn't help that he missed five weeks due to suspension either. But say like you go out there and you get like, you're not going to go out there and sit at the negotiation table with Tee Higgins when you got to be focusing on like the edge defender of like that is, the Tee Higgins version.
I just can't believe that we're sitting here and like clearly the two.
Would you rather have Tee Higgins or Josh Sweat?
I think I would rather have Tee Higgins and Hassan Reddick than Josh Sweat and scrub dirt free agent wide receiver toilet guy. That's what I would rather have. That's what I would rather have. I just can't believe we're sitting here and it's like, hey, what are the two biggest weaknesses for the team? Oh, they can't throw deep and they can't rush the passer. Oh, they can fix both those in March. We're 6 weeks away from the team maybe doing that. Oh no, I don't want to spend what it takes to sign a 26-year-old receiver in his prime. Thanks. I'm going to get me a Darius Slayton. You know what you get with Darius Slayton? Darius Slayton production from the New York Giants. Bo wants to be why don't we sign Danny Dimes too? We have a reunion. Have a nice little reunion at State Farm Stadium.